Call the May 24th, 2023 Community Preservation Committee meeting to order at 6:35. Members present are myself, Gina Gasconi, Chair, Carlton Hunt, Vice Chair, Jeffrey Merriman, Maureen Manasian, Patrick Driscoll, Stacy Driscoll, and Bill Smith. First on the agenda is Chair's announcements. I just have a couple of announcements that Carlton and I continued to meet with the town manager the week before our meetings. We both find it very helpful. We talk about present projects, current projects, anticipated projects, anything you can think of, we talk about. So those are going well. We decided to keep it a recurring monthly meeting. The only other thing I have is if you get the newsletter from the coalition, they had asked for letters of support for the CPC part of the state budget. Some of us have written letters, but it passed the Senate, and there's a number of other steps before it's signed, but it has passed the Senate.
And it's for $30 million for the trust fund.
Right, 30 million. Wish it was all for us, but for the state. Okay, any public comments? Okay, hearing none. Well, we have the town manager on. Can we have a motion to take the application for the memorial building change orders, additional funding out of order?
So moved.
Second.
Count second. Okay, any discussion? Hearing none. Josh?
Gina,
Roll call. Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Maureen,
yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, great. You have in your packet that Josh sent out a request for additional funding for the memorial building for overages and change orders. We received today a revised amount for that. It was too late to get it out, but it's basically the same application, but the dollar amount is less and things were removed that we had voted to fund the accessibility part. Some things were in there that we deemed not part of that, so Michael has changed it, and revised it. So the new amount is roughly 95,000. Michael, do you want to speak on that?
Let me start a little bit differently, if you don't mind.
Okay, go right ahead.
The original application was for about 169 and some additional funds. As Gina said, we met with Michael and we had identified several items in the detailed accounting that he sent that we didn't feel was appropriate to the scope that we had previously funded. And Michael has indicated to us that basically it's, Michael, you're gonna have to repeat what you said or correct me, one or the other. You have your hand up? No, it's my silly cursor. Basically, during the project, there was delayed getting started. There was the COVID period, so a lot of supply chain issues happened. There were delays, there were escalated costs. And one of the things that they found is when they opened up to do the ramp from the rear parking area, that stairway that was there was in, I will say, terrible shape. And I think I talked about it last time and showed some images of how bad it was and what the replacement was. So the town and the town manager looked at those costs and said that they thought that CPC should cover the accessibility portions of that. Gina and I went over with Michael the details and identified some things that we did not feel was appropriate for CPC. And as a result of that meeting, Michael has submitted, as of this afternoon, a revised budget, essentially. The reason and the rationale, all of those things remain, but the budget has been reduced to $95,002.21, something like that. Did I get it right, Michael?
I didn't even need to show up.
Well, that's why we meet beforehand.
No, that's the value. The value shines through. No,
we're-
that's exactly right, Carlton. I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, you could have, but
No, no.
No, you're both good. And we're glad to have you here, Michael, in case there's any questions. So any questions from CPC members?
Gina,
Okay,
I have a question. Can you hear me okay?
sure, Pat, go right ahead.
So what bucket are we proposing to take this out of if it's accessibility?
Gina, it would come out of the historical reserve. We've got about $280,000 in that particular reserve account, so it's easily covered under the reserve, not the undesignated fund.
Right, that's what we took the original award out of, Pat. Was
Is it
historical.
typical that if a project does have overruns that we cover those after setting a budget and awarding a certain amount?
We, as far as I know, this is the first one we've come across. I can't say for the Academy building. I don't recall that. Carlton or Michael could answer that if there were overages or anything.
No, this is the first time we've actually had an overage in, I think, any construction project that we've done. We haven't done a lot of them, admittedly, but this is the first time we've suffered overages, and as Carlton pointed out, due mostly to delays and obviously COVID supply chain issues and so forth. So it is an overage, and Gina's right. It is or I think Carlton mentioned, handicapped accessibility is something that can be paid for out of the historic bucket, and without a problem. And these are all related. All the overages that I've asked the CPC for are related to the things that you funded in the first place. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I will add to that, this is the first time I've observed or seen or experienced this. Michael, the total project overage was something on the order of 220. Am I saying that right?
I think it was 260 in that neighborhood, 260
Okay.
somewhere in there.
So the revised budget is basically, 40% of that. And
Yeah,
it's all,
When we give you, we'll give you a final breakdown of the project costs, just so you can have it, and you'll see all of the expenditures, change orders, and then the overages. So
Great. Any other
one-
questions?
I do have one last question.
Sure.
Michael, do you mind if we don't add the $2.21 to any potential appropriation?
I will reach into my pocket and I will cover the $2.21.
We're going to hold you to that.
Yes.
No, Lori Guarini will hold me to that.
Right, thanks for your generosity. If there's other questions or comments, I would entertain a motion to fund this. I would also request that when the motion is made, that it identifies the bucket of money, historical reserve, And also to put the stipulation on for maintenance plan. Which we,
Yeah, yeah, no, I know I owe you that, absolutely.
um. So do we have a motion for? To fund the $95,000 for overages? Anybody want to make a motion?
I move that we cover the overages and the extended costs and the unanticipated costs relative to the stairway in the back, that for $95,000, and it would come from the, and I don't have the number in front of me, but the historic reserve of the CPA accounts.
Okay,
And also,
good.
I will add that the can't think of the word.
Maintenance plan.
Maintenance plan is received by the end of the year,
Is it
fiscal year,
fiscal year or calendar year?
fiscal.
Okay, just want to clarify for Mr. Dutton. Okay, good. Do we have a second?
I will second that.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, Josh?
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes,
Patrick,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes,
Maureen,
yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Michael, I
welcome.
think that's it. And you can move
I-
on to your next.
I will leave you with one thing, just an update for you, that you don't have to take up the Broad Street properties, because we don't have the materials that you need. I'm squeezing myself into a bind because we do want to make sure that we're applying for the land grant funds. That application is due July 1st, second week in July. But we need at least a vote of recommendation from the CPC in order to make application for those funds. So while we don't have all the information that you've asked for yet on those, we will have that by your next meeting. And then we can proceed from there. But I know I'm squeezing myself into a corner. But a lot of other things have consumed the time of both the design engineer and our own staff. So, but I will get you everything you need by the next meeting. And what I probably will do is ask our own staff to attend the meeting, your meeting, next time around. So if that works for you, that would be my preference.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Michael, you're not asking us to vote on it tonight, you're asking us to wait till next meeting.
Exactly, Pat. Yep.
And I think what we're looking for, what I'm looking for anyways, I have no information on this land other than an 8.5 by 11 photocopy. So, I mean, I think all I'm looking for is that it has value, that there are sufficient uplands to do what we want to do with it. It's buildable, it's worth the 360, you know what I mean? If it's not worth any money and somebody else can't build on it, then why are we paying 360 for it? I just want to make sure that the restrictions on it don't make it unbuildable and we're paying too much for it, that's all.
Yep. No, I hear that, and I don't disagree. So we know that most of it is buildable. So we'll get you that opinion. We'll get you the plans, and you know, we'll give it all to you so that you've got, and the appraisal as well. So you'll have it all.
Great,
So
thank you.
you did have an appraisal on those two parcels?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
thanks.
I think that was
There's-
in the original packet, I think.
Yeah, I've never seen that, so.
Okay, well,
Okay, we can get you out a copy of it, Pat. Before you go, did I see they were taking the billboard down today?
I did not see that, but great if they
When I
were.
came out of my street, they were doing something next to the Chinese restaurant. And every time I left my street, I had to go towards town for something. So I didn't go by, but they were doing something. They had a big crane out there.
Oh, interesting. No, I don't know anything about it.
I'll check it out tomorrow.
Okay.
Hopefully they're not repairing it.
Yeah, they're putting up a new sign.
Yeah.
Well, will we own the property that billboard is on if everything's passed?
We will.
Does that mean we have any say so about the billboard?
My say so would be we take it down as soon as possible.
Music to my ears.
Yeah, that would be, that's one of our objectives, ancillary objective, but it is an objective is to get rid of the eye clutter.
And just, since we're out of order still a little bit, and those two parcels are part of the central business district?
I believe they are just in the central business district. I'd have to double check, but I believe they are.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Great.
Well, I thank you very much for the Academy building. Oh, boy. The Memorial building and the Academy building while I'm at it.
Mhm. And the townhouse and
And
whatever
all of
else.
it. And thank you for showing up and having a full quorum for on such a nice evening. So I appreciate that.
Okay, and thank you for being here to answer questions.
All right. Well, I will let you go. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Okay, to go back to the agenda, do we have a motion to go back to where we left off?
Do we need an emotion for that?
I
You don't need a
know.
motion
Do
for
we
that.
need to-
I
No,
don't think.
Josh?
it's-
Okay. Okay. Guess I'm just motion crazy tonight. Okay, approval of minutes. They were sent out this afternoon. I don't know if anybody's had a chance to read them. Or we can just hold off on the two approvals until next meeting.
I haven't had a chance to read them, so I suggest we defer until next meeting to approve.
Okay. Okay,
But I want to hear from others, so.
yep. Does anybody
Same,
else have a
same
chance?
for me. So I haven't had a
Okay.
chance to read them. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
I haven't seen them.
Okay, good.
I did skim through them. They look okay, but I will hold off so everybody can see them.
Great, thank you for both. The March 22nd, because something happened to the recording that we couldn't access. It was written from, I wrote it from my notes, so pay close attention to that to make sure I captured everything, because some I write scantily put notes next to it, so it was going back to push my agenda. And unfortunately, that was also the night that Josh had to leave early. But we put them together. We put our brains together and got it done. Okay, so we're gonna hold off on that. Financial reports were also sent out with that same packet. Basically, not much has changed since the last time. Some of the income may have gone up because taxes were due May 1st, so anybody paying their taxes in April. So that would have gone up, but as far as expenditures, it's basically the same. Nothing's really changed on that.
I would,
Oh.
Gina, I would only add to that. We have unanticipated revenues that have come in to the tune at this point of about $214,000. When that gets all, the books get closed, that will go to the undesignated fund.
Okay, good.
And
Thank
the
you.
other thing I will add is just because there's on the agenda, there's some other things down the road tonight to vote on, talk about, is the administrative fund has $22,831 of money available for spending. That's important for down the road. And we have one outstanding commitment that we need to cover this year for about $1,800. And that means we have about $2,100 of spendable cash, spendable money by the end of the year.
21,000. right?
21,000, yeah.
Okay, I thought you said 100. Thinking, no, I
I
can't.
may
be.
have.
Okay,
my brain.
21,000. Okay, that's good to know. And as Carlton said, there are things that we're going to talk about tonight that would come from that account. And what are the things we learned last year? Well, we didn't learn it till the fall. Things that we vote as a from CPC for recommendations for if we vote from a specific project account or undesignated, the funds get encumbered. If we vote to pay things out of the administrative account, they don't get encumbered. What we learned in the fall, because things that we thought would have been coming from the FY22 budget were being paid from FY23. We learned when Carlton and I met with the finance department, Laurie and Tony, was that unbeknownst to us, we were supposed to ask them to encumber those funds. So what we're looking to do tonight, not looking to do tonight, but that's something that we're working on just to make sure we identify everything that we voted to pay from the admin account that hasn't been paid yet and won't be paid by June 30th to make sure it's encumbered. And Josh, we might work with you on that too.
And to clarify, that's not a decision that the entire committee needs to vote on. It's just something, it's a policy that we will vote on hopefully tonight or next week, next month.
Right,
Basically, it's just a policy that we are.
right. Because the expenses have already been voted on and approved by the CPC. And this is just making sure they get paid out of the right fiscal year.
Of course, no money was lost from
No.
that's the important thing. That no money
Well,
was
we
lost.
didn't, right, we didn't lose money. It's just that it was taken from this fiscal year, but not
Right,
last
right.
fiscal year.
Because any monies left over in the administrative account would just roll over to the following fiscal year, right?
I
No, it
believe
goes
they
to the
go to
undesignated fund. Go to
undesignated.
the undesignated fund.
Sorry?
They roll into the undesignated fund.
Oh, I see.
So we have a new budget that starts July 1st that it's been approved at 50,000, I think.
Mhm. Good. And speaking of the new budget, it was presented to the town council 2 weeks ago. I didn't hear it mentioned last night. I may have missed it, but it might hold off till the next meeting for the final approval of it. For our recommended budget. Carlton, you look like you're thinking on that one.
No, I'm just looking at the agenda, anticipating the next topic.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe I missed something for our recommended budget. Okay, any questions on financial reports, financials? Anything, like we said, not a lot has changed between last month and this month, other than net income. Next, excuse me, the old business applications received. First thing, the Broad Street properties, we talked about that before Michael left. He asked us to hold off on that. That he'll have information to us to vote on at our June meeting. Central Square Congregational Church phases 2 and 3 is still on hold. Funded project updates be under old business. Active projects, the Central Square Congregational Historic Restoration, that we're still looking at working on the deed restriction. Barbara, you had given me some days that are good to you, for you. And I think you said either Terry and Gordon as well. You said Wednesdays and Thursdays are good for you.
Yes, those are good for me, anytime during the day.
Okay, Wednesday or Thursday.
Are
Okay,
you going to try to set a meeting up with
I'm gonna try to set it up.
Ginny?
Yep, I mean, um, for CPC members, it's Ginny Adams who works for PAL, the company that we've contracted with to do the deed restriction. I'm going back over everything that she had asked for before that we thought we had submitted. Just to make sure we have all our I's dotted, T's crossed, so she can just tell us what we need to do next. To make sure we're on the same page. And you had requested that she come up and meet in person, correct?
Yes, because at one time she wanted to see the church.
Oh, okay, good. Okay, I'll
So I
request
thought
that.
that would be a good idea to meet at the church.
Okay, a very good
Okay.
idea. Okay, so that's my job for tomorrow. Next is Stiles and Hart Parkland improvements. I'm not sure what new has been done, but I know they have been working on it. Carlton or Pat, do either one of you? Have you heard any updates?
The only thing I know is I think most people we only had a small number quorum last time. There is a draft plan that I believe Harry, who's not on the call meeting tonight, had received a draft of it. So, and I don't know if that's viewable anywhere. So I'm not sure exactly what that plan includes. I do remember that we had asked for the ad hoc committee be expanded to include many of the people that are on this particular committee, Concom, which Harry represents, historical commission, Parks and Rec especially would look at that because there's going to be some issues about it, who exactly handles any management plans.
Good. I think that's about management plans definitely hits home with me for Parks and Rec. We do have John Hart, who I think his title is like head park steward, and maybe something else. He works, I believe, 13 hours a week, which to me isn't a lot to oversee all the parks, especially with Stiles and Hart being in all the improvements done there. But it gets into who's responsible for the parks. Not to sound like a broken record, Parks and Rec budget has not been increased with the expectation of taking care of the parks. So I think this ad hoc committee has a job cut out for them.
I will add one piece to that before we move on, and that's basically $14,700 has been spent already. I don't know if any of that is reimbursable to the CPC. But I know that Gina has seen a couple of, I think Gina, you've seen a couple of the invoices, right?
I think that was
that's
our
what we
question to Michael, because things have been paid, but I haven't been sent invoices.
Okay.
Like what for, so that's a good question, follow up from Michael.
Noted.
Okay. Okay, Summer Street property, the mobile station. Carlton, I think you can talk.
Yeah, I can give everybody an update on that one. Basically, I don't know that the taking is final. When we met with Michael last week, I thought there might be a couple of things, time periods that needed to go past before it was final. But I understood that the deed filings had all been done, that kind of thing. There was a meeting. The town manager has appointed an ad hoc committee, includes this BIA president, a representative from BSU. I think Mr. Rulli is involved, and I'm assuming Michael was involved, but I know they met this past week and had
Jim
some.
Small from Parks and Rec.
Jeff Small, have met last week and had some preliminary conversations about how to, the two parcels complement each other down the road. And that's about all I know on that particular one. I do believe there's a deed restriction that has to be held, and that's one of the questions, who's going to hold that restriction? It could be Concom, it could be the Parks and Rec Commission, it could be an external non-municipality, but I suspect in this case, it should be within the municipality. And those are all things that are being worked out.
Thank you. Questions or comments, anything on the Summer Street property? Okay, hearing on, excuse me, Hemlock Drive windows and doors replacement. We're waiting for the final grant agreement to be signed by the town manager's office, and then it will go to the housing authority. I did speak with Lily Fiore today, who, Stacy, is she the director? I know she's with Over the Time, but is she our director too?
No, she is not. Colleen Doherty is the overall executive director of the Taunton Housing Authority. She's interim for Bridgewater. Kristen is actually, she's been the liaison back and
okay.
forth. So Kristen and
Great, thank
Colleen.
you. Yep, it was actually Colleen. I was trying to think of her name and it just escaped me completely. But Lily had just sent me a quick email looking for an update. I did talk to her and explain to her that we're just waiting for that. And she was just, her main question was, once everything's approved, how to access the money. And I went over that with her. So she was fine with all that. I was going to pass on the information I gave her. She was going to pass it on to the others. So probably Kristen and Colleen. So that's in.
Did you also indicate that there would be a final report that was due, including images, that kind of thing?
Oops.
In your conversation?
Yeah, I didn't mention that to her, but I believe it's in the letter and I can tell her to. I can do a
Yeah,
follow-up
and
with her.
maybe Stacy can convey that also, that we, have you sent the draft of the grant agreement?
Not to them, and I apologize because I think at the last meeting I had said I would, so I told her I would do that. If not tonight, after the meeting, and tomorrow, I'd send it off to her.
Thank you.
I believe Colleen does realize a final report needs to be done with Windows. They're very familiar with different grants, state funded and federally funded grants. So I'm sure they'll be prepared.
Thank you.
Good. Thank you, Stacy. Okay. Old State Farm Trails. I believe the surveying is complete. There's still a balance that hasn't been paid. I'm not sure if that's something that will be paid out or the surveying came in less. Again, those are bills that I didn't see. And I'm not sure if it's because the state contracted with the surveyor, so the state paid them, process, approved everything, but just submitted it to the town. So we
I think the
need to follow up on.
the requirement was that we give the money to the state and they would do all the contracting. So I don't know what other agreements we have.
Right. Okay. And there is a balance in that encumbrance that we should check with Kitty to see, Kitty Doherty.
No, that's the state. That's for the state. Our balance is specifically, there's $4,400 that we appropriated that hasn't been spent. That's all we're concerned with now at this point.
Right. The Parthenon Freeze, Marilee Hunt submitted the first bill for that. She submitted it today. for the shipping. So the frees are at the company that will restore them right now. So then we'll get another bill for the restoration and the shipping company to take them back.
And also the installation. I can update you.
Installation.
The company that's doing the transportation will also do installations. And so merely the clerk, the proponent for this, had them come over to the academy building. They took a really in-depth look at where we can hang those freezes. She needs to get a little bit of information, specifically where are the studs, what's the thickness of the wall board, et cetera. So these guys can plan for the installation when they bring it down. So finally, that project is well underway because it's at, as Gina said, it's at the restoration company. They
Mhm,
are.
great. I can't wait to see them. Okay, we're attempting to shorten our list of, for updates of funded projects. Because the list is just forever long and keeps getting added to it with nothing being taken off. So we separated for this agenda projects that are ready to be closed. Most of them are just waiting for final reports and then they can be closed. The library archival and digitization project. That Carlton and I have both reached out to Jed Phillips, director of the library, just to make sure everything's been paid, and he's checking on that, doing a final report. Pickleball courts, and looking at, and I thought we had the incumbents for that all straightened out, but looking at the most recent financial report in Carlton, you have it in front of you. I apologize, I don't have it right here. There's a big balance left in it that it shouldn't be. It's almost like the number, it should be that we paid a lot more than it shows we paid.
You know what I think they're doing is they're basically, they only included what was in this fiscal year. So the money that was paid out last fiscal year is not showing up in this too, but basically it shows a balance, available funds of $2,100.
Okay, and that makes sense. I was wondering for that, if they were just showing paid this year, but okay, that makes sense. So for that, we're just waiting for the final report that I think I'll probably just do myself as a Parks and Rec person. Because our superintendent is probably swamped getting all the fields ready. Memorial building, the original project can be closed out. The McElwain School, we've asked for just a quick summary from them. They did send to the town manager, who sent Carlton and I a copy, and we could gladly have sent it to the rest of you, but it was probably a couple hundred pages. That I might be exaggerating for pages, but it was a lot. So we've asked for a shortened just summary of the project.
I also asked them and spoke with them about the need for the report. We never got a signed grant agreement with them, so but we've communicated enough. And I did speak with them during the public tour this last week, and it was well attended. I think there was at least 50 people there. It was a very good tour. And one of the things that the budget shows, there's still 135,000 that they have not accessed. They basically, under contract, have to agreements, they have to hold back a certain amount of money until everything is approved and finalized. And they said that they would be accessing 135 for the playground. And also they were more than happy to try to put something together for us. We just need to formalize it.
Good, thank you. Questions or comments on any of the projects to be closed? Okay, hearing none. Next is eligibility forms approved, awaiting applications. Hanson's Farm, the appraisal, no, Actually-
I can talk to this again.
okay,
I've been talking with the Hansons and actually went out to a meeting with the Open Space Committee Chair yesterday at the Hansons and Bob Ruley. And we had been communicating for the last week or 10 days about the maps so that the appraisal could go forward. One of the things when we spoke with Michael last week was that he didn't have a single sheet with all of the properties that are going to be included and those properties that would be excluded from the conservation restriction. Yesterday, we received that. Here's my copy. It's too big to show. It's our copy, I should say. And basically, everything is in place in order for us to start moving the next step forward, which is to get an appraisal and then expectations for an application coming from the town in early fiscal year 24. So we do have a map, and I'm happy to show it to anybody. I was hoping we could have an in-person meeting, but that didn't happen yet. But I'm willing to show it to anybody that wants to look at it.
good, thank you. Questions or comments? Okay, you have in your packet that Josh sent out. I'm looking to see if we have it here. Or under new business. Okay, we can address it here, talking about Hanson's Farm. You had in your packet that Josh sent out the other day, a letter from the town manager requesting funding for the appraisal of Hanson's Farm. And it's in the amount of $12,000 is his request. We're looking to, if we can approve that vote and to recommend it tonight. Well, it would, my suggestion would be out of the administrative account. So if we can get that voted, hopefully he can have the appraisal done this fiscal year. If not, as we said before, we'll encumber the funds. So I'll entertain a motion.
Well, let's state the amount. The dollar amount that he's asking is $12,000.
Correct.
I don't know if that's enough or not enough, but also the acreage, don't hold me to the exact acreage, but it's it's between 69 and 72 acres of conservation land that were being appraised. Some of that is one of the things they had to do. They had an extra map. They had to determine if some of the frontage on Pleasant Street had enough frontage to meet the zoning requirements for AB residential. And they found that all those locations could have lots on there. So that goes into the appraisal as potential lots in that front part of the property. I just don't know how the appraisers handle different land forms and land types. Like, for example, there's some ponds and that kind of thing. I don't know how the appraiser handles that, but I'm assuming the town manager will put the proper scope together.
Okay, are you suggesting that the 12,000 isn't enough?
No, I'm just saying I don't have a good feel, but 12,000 is the number. I would like to get it moving personally.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion that we can continue with the discussion. We have funded appraisals before in surveying from the administrative account. Just a little.
To move this forward, I move that we fund for $12,000 the appraisal of the Hanson Farm conservation areas.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Okay, can you just add in Carlton? And I should have said this before.
And I will add, it will be taken from the administrative account.
Okay, and can you specify fiscal 23?
It's taken from the fiscal 23 administrative account, yes.
Okay, thank you. Maureen, do you second that
I
still?
second it, yes.
Okay. Discussion? Okay, hearing none. Josh, vote
Gina,
yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes,
thank you. Stacy,
Yes.
Maureen,
yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes,
thank you. The motion was approved.
Great, thank you. Next is, and we're still wait, once the appraisal's done and negotiations are made, then we'll get the application. The intent is also to apply for a land grant for that. And that I believe will be done sometime the next year for that. So
Now,
that's
we have to get the appraisal and all the other ducks lined up first,
right, before all that's done.
or cows in this case.
Okay, the issue, an issue there too, not a major issue, is the same as Stiles and Hart, who will hold the restriction. If it's Wildlands Trust, if it's Parks and Rec, Conservation, that has to be decided too. Next is the Methodist Church. They're still obtaining quotes for some of their work. It's kind of narrowed down to one person doing the work. So she's trying to do that in between everything else. But they are working on administrative account updates. I was just thinking this will be wiped off on our next agenda, but it won't, because we'll add the Hanson's appraisal on. Jennings Hill Cemetery, Carlton has reached out to them, at least 2 or 3 times. Last couple of times with no response. So we're just going to, the money was voted to come out of the admin account, so nothing's actually been encumbered. A project account hasn't been set up. So we were thinking just to take it off of our books altogether.
But I think we do need to notify the financial department that we are not going to proceed with this in this fiscal year.
Right. Do we need to, I'm just thinking, do we need to have a motion to rescind that recommendation?
I don't think so,
Okay.
but other people, please chime in.
Yeah. Yeah, others, Pat, would you know
Right.
if anything's rescinded? Pat, you're muted.
would I know if anything's rescinded? Where?
Right, for the Jennings Hill
I
Cemetery.
don't know anything about the Jennings. It's before I was even on the board. I have no idea.
Right,
I
but it's
think we,
just-
yeah, I think we probably do need a motion. I mean, we voted it in, and we should, by the same token, if we're taking it away, which I understand the reasons for, we should have a vote to formalize it.
Right.
Otherwise,
that's
it looks arbitrary somehow.
Right,
Otherwise.
that's what I was thinking too, Bill. Would you like to make a motion? Off the top of my head, I can't remember how much we motioned before.
Was it 5,000?
6,500.
Okay.
Okay. Bill, would you like to make a motion to rescind that award?
Well, yes, I'll try. I would like to move that the CPC rescind the allocation of $6,500 that we designated for the restoration of the tombstones at the Jennings Hill Cemetery.
Second,
Okay. Yeah. Carlton, was that a second?
yes, it was.
Okay, discussion? Okay, hearing none. Josh, roll call?
Gina,
Yes.
Carlton,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
Stacy,
Yes.
Maureen,
yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
thank you. The motion was approved.
Okay, great. And I will send a letter off to to them and copy the finance department too. Just to let them know. And tell them they're welcome to come back to us another time. But we can't just keep carrying it on the books. Senior Center Design Study, that's been completed and paid in full. The next step is the senior centers to put in an application for their phase 1. They broke it into phases. So that's done. Anticipated projects, restoration of the fire department antique pump. That when I had spoken to the fire chief and he had asked me if it would be a CPC eligible, he was in the process of getting prices for that. And will submit the proper forms when he has more information. Pickleball courts, I've kind of heard through the grapevine that it's possible to look for two to three more courts. So that might be coming up at some point in the future. Okay, comments on those two? Okay. F, the policies and procedures document, it was sent out to you last week on the 18th. It's a long document. We have, I don't know if everybody's had a chance to read it yet. We have had a few comments on it. Has everybody had a chance to read it? And I want to thank Carlton for his hours of diligent work for it. Very, very thorough document. So thank you, Carlton, for your
You're
hard work.
I would just like to reiterate that. I mean, that was yeoman's work. This is very impressive and took, I can't imagine the number of hours it took to put this together. Some of this we had, but it was organized. I found the table of contents very helpful.
Good, I do too.
I like the pictures myself.
Yeah, it was. I just had a couple minor things myself. If anybody else has comments, I know Maureen had written for something. If anybody else has comments, suggestions to add on, our intent was to vote on it tonight. But we want to make sure everybody's had a chance to look at it, that Carlton can update with suggestions. So if you do have any suggestions, comments, changes, thoughts, send them, we ask you send them along to Carlton and myself. So it can be updated within the next couple of weeks. We'll get you a new document and hopefully vote on it at our June meeting.
So I've already fixed the one typo that Maureen identified. I apologize for that, not picking it up. I read the thing about 5 or 6 times. One comment that I've received or heard is bonding. Why some kind of maybe a call out box or something that would say set when we need, why we should bond and when we should bond, that kind of thing. What's in there is basically from the community coalition, CPA coalition regarding bonding, and I put links and that kind of thing. And we've also looked at the bonding scenario spreadsheet, and we have plenty of room to bond things. But from this policy perspective, should I put in that kind of a call out box and say, because I tried to do some research this afternoon on it, and I can't find a statement that says these are when you should bond. I can find basically is that if you need money that's going to take a long term and you don't have it in hand to pay for stuff, that's when you bond. But if anybody has any ideas about what that text should look like, I would appreciate it.
Is that sentence you just said as part of the document? Because I think that would clarify.
Well, it was your comment that asked
I
that.
know it was, and I
then-
can't remember without looking at the document again.
Well,
Right.
there's not a explicit statement that says you should bond if.
Right.
I can't find anything on that. The
Okay.
only thing I can
And
find is,
I'll try to look through. The reason I had commented, just for the committee to Carlton, that I thought we should have something. I think what he's put in there as far as the process of bonding, is great. But if you're like me, and I don't know how many times it took for Carlton to explain bonding to me before I got it. You know, for us on the committee, might not understand if you're new to the committee, new to town finances, about the bonding. And one of the, so it would help out, and one of the intents of this document is, in 20 years down the line, when none of us were still on CPC, hopefully, that somebody could pick up the document and look at it. So I think my suggestion was just to put, why would we be bonding? Not a big description, just a little, like the town community preservation would bond, and just a couple examples, or even the sentence that you said.
so to continue the discussion. So the box could say something to the effect, and it becomes a policy essentially, is the CPC would recommend bonding a project if there was insufficient funds in the reserve accounts to cover the cost. And we don't anticipate revenue that would cover it, and therefore you would bond it. Something to that effect. Is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, that's just what I was thinking, something like that.
Carlton and Gina, can I ask a quick question? Not to interrupt, I apologize.
Nope, go
I
ahead.
have another meeting at 7:30.
Okay,
If I leave, is there still quorum? There's nothing else to vote on. I'm looking at the agenda.
right. The only other thing that I know you had thoughts on it was recognition signs. We can probably, because you're up to the time for your meeting.
Yeah,
We don't-
I have the other one going on my phone, so they're not looking
Right.
for me.
Okay,
I'm
Which is the
willing to
next-
wait on. I'm willing to wait on that. I simply had indicated there's about 25 projects that I think we should recognize. But Pat, I think your comments were well taken. Basically, why would we do this? So let's have a discussion and then we can vote on it.
I'm against going back and putting signs on 25 projects and spending money that we could use for preserving something else, I guess, but.
right,
that's my
I
take on
think,
it.
just to go along with that, we've asked people before, and some projects have complied with this, that it's up to the people, the award people to post something that says,
So,
supported by community preservation.
is there still quorum if I leave? Is that, I just want to make sure. that you guys know.
Yeah, we have quorum.
I'm sorry to be rude and.
No, you're fine. Thank you, Pat. Have a good night.
So-
Okay.
I have one comment to make about the policies document.
Okay.
I read it last week when Gina sent it out. But I can't remember every detail. And it occurred to me just sitting here that one of the major questions that we get from applicants concerns preservation restrictions. Do we have anything in the document on preservation restrictions and how that works? Because that seems to confuse the applicants often. Carlton, could you?
Yeah, the text basically describes that any real property, building, restoration, land purchase, anything of that nature requires a preservation restriction. That's underneath CPA law, it explains that.
Right.
Uh,
Is that in a link or is that directly in our document?
My recollection is it is, I'll check this, but it is a statement to that effect. And I believe, and can add a link to the coalition's website that explains it.
I think you're right that it is part of the document itself, but it's a good idea to put the link in. Thank you, Bill and Calvin.
Anything else while we're on this? Anybody else have comments? It's pretty straightforward. Go to the page, look at the line number. Tell
Yep.
me if I've got a typo. Tell me if you disagree. If you think we've missed the policy, let us know. We said town manager has looked at this. The finance department has looked at this. The most recent review was by the town manager, and he only had 4 or 5 small changes that we made already. And what I will do is use track changes, so you will see any changes that I make in track changes for vote next month.
Okay.
One of the comments the town manager made was about the length of our terms. Carlton and I both question that. He had said, Carlton, what, two terms unless
Yeah,
it changed, but Bridgewater doesn't have term limits for volunteers.
right. Well, it's basically the town manager's policy that you can be appointed for 2 consecutive appointments, 3-year appointments or 5, whichever it is, depends on what committee you're on. For us, it's 2 consecutive appointments, and then continuation is at his discretion, basically is what he's saying. And it's his
Okay.
policy.
Yeah.
I think there's good things if people are, haven't been able to attend meetings or for some other reason. You may not want to reappoint them. On the other side of the coin, you want to keep people that aged people like me around who have quite a long history, and Gina and Bill who have a long history of this kind of thing. So there's pros and cons to that, but I put his language in.
Okay, good. Maureen, did you? I thought I just heard you starting. Okay. If nothing else on policies and procedures document, we'll move on to the recognition signs.
So
we
I just,
wanna hold off?
Gina, I just want to make sure, since we had vote in here, the recommendation that I'm hearing is we postpone the vote until the next meeting.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah,
Okay, moving on to recognition signs.
for those
Do
that
we
weren't
have to-
here,
Bernard, do
those
we
that-
have to, do we have to motion to postpone it?
no, it's just an agenda item.
Okay, I wasn't sure where it said vote.
It says
Okay,
vote on the policy. It doesn't say
Right.
vote on anything else.
right.
But the recognition signs, that's where we're at, right?
Yep,
Yeah, so several of you weren't on there. I got the idea, looking around, for example, in the memorial building, there's no place that's recognized that we put a significant amount of money. It'll be around $500,000 into that building. There's no recognition that CPA was in fact done. It's required by state law that you have a sign during construction renovation, but a leave behind sign that conveys to people that CPA had a role in restoring the building or purchasing the land or digitizing documents, that kind of thing. That's my thought, but Pat has mentioned it, that he doesn't think we need to leave behind recommendations. The library, I talked to the library, we purchased those display cases, and it would be real easy to advertise the CPA and the good things that CPA covers by just putting little signs down in the corners of each of those that simply say funded by CPA and the year. So that's all I was looking for, but I defer it to everybody else, quite frankly. I've made my case. And if other people want to deal with it, not deal with it, I'm sorry, want to.
Well, I agree with Carlton on this. I think it's important for the CPA to be recognized for our contributions. I mean, I think there's some people in town who might object occasionally to these surcharges that they receive on their tax bill, which enable us to fund all of these projects. And I really think it's important in a political environment for us to be recognized, and a sign, a tasteful sign, like the one that Carlton was talking about concerning those cases in the library, would be very appropriate. And I think it's important. I mean, I don't particularly like signs and a whole proliferation of them, but I think in this case, it's really important because we want to ensure that the CPA continues in the town. And one of the best ways of doing that is to draw attention to all of the wonderful work that this committee has done over the long years. And so I'm in total agreement with Carlton on that. I think it's very important.
I agree too. As most you know, I do a lot of walking trails, parklands outside of Bridgewater. Many of the trailhead signs will say funded or supported by community preservation. Maybe I'm more attuned to that because I'm involved with the CPA. But I think it is good to see. And Bill's right. People do at times complain about the surcharge. A while back, there's a whole discussion on Facebook on why they're being paid for a certified public accountant. Because they didn't know what CPA was. And of course, somebody nicely said, "Oh, Gina Wasconi can answer that." So, so I had to do this whole thing, get in the middle of the comments, but I didn't mind because I wanted to clarify what it was, what we do. I'm all for the signs recognizing CPA contribution funding. I'm just not sure, and I'm still in my head like the fiddler on the roof. In the past, we've asked the folks that got the award to put the sign up, and some have, some haven't. I'm just not sure if CPC should pay for it, or it should be up to the grantee. So that's my thought, but I think we should definitely, anything we fund, it should be recognized.
I wonder how other towns handle this. Do other towns have recognition signs for CPA funded projects? Do we know about that?
I know I've seen one in Easton. I was on a 5K walk one day. Obviously I don't walk too fast because I would stop and read the signs. But it was, I think it was a library, and it was in the process of being renovated. And it did say funded or supported, I can't remember the exact word, by the community preservation. I know Middleborough at the Oliver Park, the Herring Run, is part of their sign. So we could maybe just call a couple of towns that have CPC, Carlton, and just see if they require the signs and who pays for them.
Let me take the following action. We have money in this year's administrative account that could fund or partially fund, because we have not required it. I think the CPC needs to consider, how do we, as Bill said, make sure we have the recognition. So I will reach out to the coalition and ask them what, if they're the best practice and how many, et cetera. So I will take that on my shoulders to cover it this week and then get an update. And I also, there was a concern that if they're brass, maybe somebody would try to, for example, the
Get
fencing,
little legs.
old project, the fencing at the Mount Prospect Cemetery. We funded that because the metal was used. Some people may not know this. The metal for the fence that was there originally was used in the World War II metal need. And so the application was to replace the fence that was there that was pretty not great to look at with the current fence. And I'm thinking you could put a plaque on that fence. And I've talked with the board member from that, and they were more than happy to put it up somewhere. So my quick check questions of is it's a positive response generally. Cost coverage for them now at this late date may not be appropriate. So, and we don't have a policy around that. The final thing I'll say is that there was concern about brass being taken. People see that, they want to get the money for it. There are other materials, for example, at the Music Alley, there are little the benches have little recognition plaques on it. Those are made from aluminum. They're not made from brass. So there are other materials that one can use for these so that people are less likely to see a profit from taking them.
Good, thank you.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I thought I read someplace in that pamphlet that was set out that the people that when the buildings are being worked on, they need to put a poster up, put something up, signage up saying that it's being covered, being paid for by this organization. So why can't you slip into that section and then you need to add something at the end of it that will stay permanently, stating that the money came from this CPA.
Good. Do we have, and I'll have to look at the application closely. I know I've seen it in a couple spots that we, and not just our award letter, but I think I've seen it in other spots too, that two things. One, as Maureen said, as it's being worked on, has to be a sign up. But I think I remember seeing it, that it's up to, that it has to have a sign put up afterwards. And a permanent sign that the project has been funded or supported by CPA. Not sure if it's in the application, if it's in something else we have, but I'll reread our things to see.
That's great. Yeah, the signs during a construction project, as right now, the active one is the townhouse. There is a sign on School Street that references both CPA and also the historic money that's coming into that building for restoration, which, by the way, they are in the process of insulating that building right now. That's one of the charges. They've done the roof for the most part. I believe they're close to being finished with the hidden gutters, which is one of our funding. And the other was the Piedmont, that's on the east side of the building. That had hit some issues and some supply issues, but that I think is pretty much done. So I know that they're supposed to be done by July 15th. I'm hoping they'll be done well before then. But I forgot to give you that update on that.
Actually, yeah, I'm just looking, because I'm thinking, why didn't we talk about that? I left that off the agenda. I'm sorry. That's why we didn't talk about it.
Well, so now we've met it, but basically they had a truck out in front for the last couple of days they're pumping insulation into the attic area. So that's a huge energy saver for the town when we eventually use it.
So is that going to interfere with Music Alley having the?
It already has.
Yeah.
Music Alley had events scheduled for this month and June. And they've worked with the Marilee, who holds the license for the events at Music Alley. They've worked with her a little bit. I think what they're doing is they've gotten an agreement to move Music Alley out to the Black Hat Brewery temporarily. And I'm hoping that these guys, they're doing fantastic work. They're very helpful. Marilee says that they're very responsive when she talks to them. But we're hoping that they can finish the project and get that scaffolding that's there. That's the
Yeah.
critical thing. That needs to come down before any public goes into the alley.
Correct, yeah,
Thank you for the question.
thank you.
Good question. Thank you for mentioning the townhouse too, Carlton, because we left it off the agenda inadvertently. So that's good. Okay, anything else on the recognition signs? Stacy, Jeff, thoughts? Nope, you just muted yourself.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. I think it's a wonderful idea, and I think it's a way for the taxpayers of the town to know what their money is going towards. As well, with that, I feel that it, maybe should be worded within an application that it is required. So if we could look into that, instead of recommended, the word required would be great.
Okay,
So when we do that, is CPA gonna add a sum of money to cover the permanent or not? You don't have to answer it right now, but that's one of the issues.
something
And
to think about.
that's something to think more about. And Stacy, we're going to need to we're going to need to have signs up at the Housing Authority for the windows and doors.
Absolutely, yes.
And we may have a sign here in town that we can, there's a couple of them that are around that recognize CPA money. I know one is at the townhouse. I don't know where the second one is. The town manager may know.
Right,
But we
it
can
was,
get that sign to you.
right, it was at the Memorial Building, but when that fence got taken down, the sign got taken down too.
It went to the town academy building, to town manager's office. There were two of them there. One of them went to the townhouse. I don't know where the other one is.
Right, but we can check with them.
We'll
Okay,
get back to you.
okay. Jeff, thoughts on it?
Yeah, I like the signage idea, but I wanted to read the packet some more. I guess it sounds like it's going to be a case-by-case basis.
Well, the sign, we're saying it should be for everything.
Because you'd put a sign on the freezes?
No,
It
no,
wouldn't be-
no, what you would do is put a plaque below them. And I've talked,
Okay.
you would put a plaque on the wall underneath them, pointing to them in some way and say, these were restored with community preservation,
Mhm, right,
not
Right, this-
directly on the freezes.
right. There's some things that, because of the nature of the project, that they can't be put on. But as Carlton just said, it could be put near it, like funded by, supported by community preservation. Trying to think of something that it couldn't be put on, but there are projects
Well,
that,
if
we
the
don't-
Jennings Hill Cemetery went through, I don't think you'd be able to put a sign there, right?
right,
That's a good
So-
question, because West Bridgewater had theirs, one of the historic cemeteries taken care of, and I believe there was a sign there when they were doing the work. A
Okay.
leave
There
behind
was-
sign, I don't know.
there was a sign. Once the work was completed. I don't know, I'll have to look when I go by that way to see once the work, I know there's a sign up when they were doing it. I can't remember if there's a sign up now that it's complete.
So let me do this. I will send through Josh, I will send a list of the projects I don't believe have signs that could be recommended. It will include my recommended language. You guys can comment on it. I will send that for discussion at the next meeting.
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Thank you, guys.
Okay. Next is the annual public hearing. For Mass General Law, we have to have one per year. We had one in October. It was on Zoom. The year before was also on Zoom. The year before, we had great attendance. Last October's, it was okay. Nothing to write home about for attendance. We had talked about when we do this year's to do it in person, like the senior center has their public information sessions, to do something like that. So we're looking at sometime maybe in the fall again. But that in conjunction with, I'm gonna kind of merge two things together here. The first thing under new business is the 5-year CPC plan. We have to have a 5-year plan. Ours expires in fiscal 24.
24.
Right, so we were talking, Carlton and I were talking about possibly combining the two, because there has to be public, there doesn't have to be, but we have in the past public here, not a, I guess like a, not really a public hearing, but meeting with different constituencies, different groups, different committees in town, Parks and Rec, conservation, housing, open space, plus just a sampling of townspeople. So we were talking about maybe like combining the two. So we would have a public hearing possibly in the summer or early fall, and then combine that, take information from that and pass it on as part of the 5-year plan. In addition, for the 5-year plan, in the past, we've had Jennifer Golson's company, J.M. Golson, prepare the plan for us. We were thinking maybe hiring her company. She used to be our CPC consultant, but she cut back and concentrated more on just housing. We could possibly get her to help with the 5-year plan. So those are our thoughts on that, but to combine the two of them, at least for a start, to get information from the groups at the public hearing. Thoughts? Carlton?
Can I
Anybody?
ask a question?
I'm waiting for
Sure.
other people to chime in.
Are you, so you're saying we'll have the public meeting and express what's been going on and so on, and
Mhm.
want input towards the 5-year plan from the people who might be present at the meeting, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that the way it's happened in the past, you'd have a number of public meetings, facilitated public meetings. One of those public meetings could be a hearing. But because of the timing, my thinking is that we merge those together with FY24 administrative money, fund money, to in fact get the next 5-year plan going. I don't want to wait till late in mid 24 to get the thing going. I think it's better to get it going in the fall of 23.
Mhm. Agreed.
I think it's a great idea.
Okay, thank you.
So what I'm hearing is somewhat of a consensus that we don't need to take a vote to that, but a consensus is to, in FY24, get started and get a consultant on board. And I'm not going to say who the consultant is, but get a consultant on board to help us write the 5-year plan, next 5-year plan. And that would include hearings as per required Mass General Law.
Mhm.
Jeff says thumbs up.
Right, and if you haven't seen our 5-year plan, just to get an idea what it gets incorporated into the plan, I believe it's on our page for the town website. The 5-year plan.
Yes,
If
it
it's
is.
not, we can get it on, but I believe it is on there. Just when you get a chance in your spare time looking for something else to read, take a look. It's very thorough. It incorporates input on, as I said, housing, historic, open space, recreation. It covers just about everything that we would cover. Okay, any other comments on the public hearing or 5-year plan? Okay, hearing none, the memorial building took out of order. Next thing, committee liaison reports. I can start for Parks and Rec. We have, so basically this time of year is getting all the fields ready. We're also dealing with, there's a group that wants to charge for using the pickleball courts. So we're looking at that, but basically it's just a busy time of year getting everything ready. And some point down the line, possibly doing an application for more pickleball courts. So that's it for Parks and Rec. Bill, anything from Historic District?
Nothing, recently, we had a meeting recently and we talked about, violations and things like that. We did talk about possibility of having a standalone historic district in the near the Claremont property. There's a chamber, a stone chamber structure on that property that's several hundred years old, and we're looking into the archaeology of it and trying to determine exactly how old it is. Some local historians think that it's that it predates the colonial period, that it was perhaps built originally by Native Americans. It's on a parcel that's called the Bassett House parcel, which is through the parcel is a tomb road where a lot of Native Americans were buried. It's about a 12-acre parcel when you combine those two tracts. It's all conservation land, and this chamber is a unique structure. Some historians think that colonists used it for storing bodies during the winter when the ground was too hard for burials. So we're looking into the archaeology of that, and it's quite fascinating, I have to say. It's located very close to that little park and ride parking lot, which is called Old Pleasant Street, I think.
Good. I've seen
Question?
pictures of that. It does look interesting.
A question?
Sure.
Bill, you're aware that Claremont has a project before the planning board to build a hotel there, right?
Oh yeah, I'm very well aware of that.
Good luck. I don't know where it's at. I think it's fascinating, but I just wanted to make sure you were aware of that.
Yeah, there was a meeting last week, and Pat and I have been in discussion about that. I think nothing was approved. So we're moving on that. We'll have to have an historical inventory done, which is kind of the stumbling block at this point. We were hoping that it had been inventoried when historic resources were inventoried in 84, but that was not included. So we would have to get an historical inventory of that, which would require, sorry.
I thought those two pieces were already in the mass historic.
Well, there was a PAL study done on those, but that hasn't been released because anytime you have archaeological resources like that, it's protected information because the state is afraid people will loot the area. There are quite a few Native American artifacts back in there, grain basins and all kinds of interesting structures.
On that property right now?
Yeah. Well, that's back farther. It's about a 12-acre parcel altogether.
Okay, no, I'm just gonna say, one of the Native American groups that you need to connect with is the Metakeesit tribe. They are
Yes.
incredibly interested in making sure their history is respected in all these kinds of projects. So my suggestion is, and if you need a phone number or an email, I can get it to you.
I've talked to him. I've talked to the fellow. Yeah, he's, but the one issue with them is they're not a recognized Native American tribe.
That's true, but when the High Street Bridge and Dam Removal Project was underway, I connected them with NOAA and the state and the federal people, and the federal people brought them into the discussion.
That's good to know. I've had 2 conversations with the fellow who seems to be the head of that group. I think his name is Nehemiah. Does that ring a bell?
Well, not that I have Asian American name, yeah.
Oh,
English.
yeah. Anyway, it's fascinating.
Well, good luck.
Yes,
Just the other piece of that is, when we talk about these things, it's good to know those extra things that people are looking at. But
Yeah.
the bottom line is, I don't know if there's a CPA administrative funds that could help here or not. Just throwing it out there that could be something that survey can be funded.
yes, I had thought about that. Then we have to get permission from Claremont to go onto the property to do the survey.
No, I hear you, but that's just one of those things that why we have these conversations, so that we can identify potential things down the road. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a challenge.
Thank you.
I am absolutely in agreement with that, the CPA funding for the survey.
Good.
Well,
Thank you.
I would have to submit an application on behalf of the Historic District Commission.
That's right, but you're legal to do that. And it's not an eligibility form, it's a survey, it's an administrative fund account. We don't have to go through the town council for that.
Mhm.
I'll be talking to you more about this. Thank you.
Happy to have coffee with you.
Anytime.
Great. Okay, good. Anything else? What are we doing? Liaison reports. Jeff from Historic.
Yeah, I'm hoping to have some updates for everyone next meeting. Haven't been able to get in touch with the Historical Commission past couple of meetings due to baseball practice.
Mhm. That's what we're hitting for Parks and Rec too. It's people coaching the games, our kids play.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, and I would like for the Historical Commission, to commend David Moore for his presentation to the town council, about the Historical Commission. I thought that was wonderful. Okay, who else? Maureen, Open Space?
Yeah, hi. Well, while we have nothing that is being funded by this committee, we are involved in a few things if you want to hear about it. And
Sure,
one of
because it's
them-
right, as Carlton just said, like with Bill, as he talked about it, Carlton said, well, we could possibly fund the surveying.
Sure.
And sometimes just hearing about things that people are working on that may eventually come to us for funding, even though it's not considered at the start.
Well, down at Wyman property, Meadows Park there. We're gonna have a meeting on June 14th with Wildlands Trust and neighbors, the adjoining neighbors, because there's going to be a walkway, a walkway put in, sponsored by Wildlands Trust. And we just want them to be aware of what's happening in the area. And so they can understand the path, and it's going to, I forgot what it's called, a boardwalk is going to be put in. A simple one, just a couple logs and some boards across of it. And just so they know what's going on and about a new way to go through that area. Also, we have someone on the tree committee, and although right now they're just concerning with town property, we're hoping that they will expand once they get organized and start talking about the clear cutting that the builders are doing within the town. There's an awful lot of areas that they just come in, they cut down every tree there is, and then they put up a bush or two, and that's how they replace what they just cut down, which is not appropriate. So we're hoping that sometime the tree committee will be able to expand into that area. And then at Lake, at the NIP, there's an intent to submit a letter in support of, keeping the restaurant out in whatever area that's being worked on. And it sounds like we need to go further with what Mr. Smith has just said, that with the historical area, we really have to work on that area and make sure it doesn't get overexpanded.
Mhm. Great, thank you. Stacy? Housing Authority?
So a lot of projects have been completed, not from CPA money, from state money. So they replaced all the roofs on Hemlock Drive. It's beautiful. What a difference. They put new gutters, new fascia boards. Some windows have gone in, and now we're awaiting the next money. I know it's in the works as far as windows being ordered, and fascia boards as well. So it's coming along. It's great.
Great, thank you. Any questions or comments from the committee members on any of the liaison reports? Okay, hearing none. Upcoming events, I don't know of any. Public comment. Seeing, public left to comment. Okay, the next meeting date is June 28th at 6:30 p.m. More than likely, it'll be Zoom. The town manager has just sent something out that he would encourage sticking to the Zoom for a while, basically for technology, and meetings have to be recorded. So it'll go on Zoom. Okay. I'd like to thank everybody for the committee that's been here tonight, and great input. Thank you. Okay, if nothing else, we'll take our motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Bill, was that you?
yeah.
Okay. Discussion? Josh, roll call?
There's no
Dina?
discussion.
Yes.
Sorry.
Carlton,
Yes, thank you very much.
Stacy,
Yes.
Maureen,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Bill.
Yes.
Thank you. The motion was approved. The meeting is adjourned.
Great.
Go well.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Gina.
Good
Thanks.
night.
Welcome.